Well, distinguished Mr. President Jair Messias Bolsonaro, distinguished gentlemen and ministries and congressmen here in attendance, Ministry Ciro Nogueira, my friend, Minister Luiz Eduardo Ramos, Minister Joaquim Leite, Minister Marcos Montes, Minister Paulo Guedes, and all others here in attendance, and can attest the importance of our event. Distinguished Ministry of State of several countries here represented, ambassadors, national and foreign authorities, representatives of all the organizations and international organizations on commodities, signatories and members of the academy and research institutions, ladies and gentlemen, representing here the agricultural business from all around the world, present here at our event, and also those who are watching us live online. Please feel welcome to GAF 2022. 10 years ago, when Global Agribusiness Forum was introduced, its commitment with the development and promotion of sustainable agriculture all over the world has transformed this event into something much bigger than a recurrent annual event. Something that was proposed as an open space for reflection and debate, crossed borders, and became a continuous movement that not only seeks solutions for our challenges that we face to develop our in social development all over the world. It's committed to building a safe and sustainable environment for the product chain, supply and commercialization plane, and also energy sources all over the world. And last couple of years, we have seen a collapse in our world facing the global pandemic. This raised a warning that is a silent warning, and we are ready. Are we ready for all the challenges that we may face ahead? Are we prepared for the climate change challenges that we're going to face? And what about food security? Is it being addressed by public policies and the response by the market? These subjects have been discussed in GAF over its first 10 years of existence. However, what we had as warnings in the past now became a priority and need to be solved. In this sense, Brazil was able to position itself really well due to the fast actions Mr. President addressed and ensured personally by means of several members and ministries solutions to mitigate risk of supply of fertilizers that are strategic for keeping normal production levels, and also for the performance, due to the performance of the Ministry of Agriculture under the Minister Marcos Montes and Minister Teresa Cristina, in an environment of uncertainty and food unsafety. Brazil has been positioned and has been recognized as one of the poles that really can ensure production of foods, products, and energy in a sustainable way for a significant part of worldwide production. A country that has developed agricultural, tropical agriculture, and developing technologies for the production of grains that were only applied in the northern hemisphere, and now is in the Brazilian Cerrado regions. Here, we would like to mention Embrapa with its research institutes and scientific research, and our eternal minister, father of tropical agriculture, Minister Alisson Paulinelli. In this edition of GAF, we need to present urgent solutions to address the severity of the main issues that we have to face. We need to find solutions now. We need, as a community, as a global community, improve our present to ensure our future. During these days of event, several chiefs of state and political leaders, corporate leaders, the scientific community, the academic community, and agriculture producers from all over the world are represented here, so that we can together create a new pathway for the agricultural business all over the world and create sustainable solutions for all sectors with the application of technologies, modern production and conservation practices, and above all, in harmony with the people and the environment, generating income and bringing accessible solutions to all. Food safety and food security, climate change, and sustainability are subjects that make us reflect on the future that we want for ourselves and for our future generations. Where do we want to go? How can we be transforming agents of these changes that we need to implement? The Global Agribusiness Forum, GAF, as its nickname, is an international event that gathers the greatest minds of the agricultural business all over the world to discuss these subjects and find solutions, and also to develop socio-economically and preserve the environment. Our natural resources are not endless. The health of our planet and our society requires new forms of production, new forms of preserving nature, new forms of growing and seeing the world around us with technology and responsibility. The future demands action now. Tomorrow, not later, but now, today. We'd like to thank all of the distinguished gentlemen here, Mr. President Jair Bolsonaro, and all the ministers who integrate the government and are here in attendance, which really show their commitment, the commitment of the government with our class and with the global supply chain and the subjects that we're going to discuss here. I'm sure that the discussions and contributions that will come from this debate in the Global Agribusiness Forum will continue to help transform the agricultural business and help the development associated to this sector all over the world. Let's all have a great event. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear the president and founder of Tatagro, Plínio Mário Nastali. Distinguished Mr. President Jair Bolsonaro, you honor us greatly by being present here. I believe that not only Brazil and other countries that are here represented feel honored by your presence. Excellent Minister Ciro Nogueira and other authorities, ministers from other countries, ambassadors, members of federal and state parliaments, and other authorities, businessmen, farmers from Brazil and all over the world. President, the reciprocity with which you are represented here through your government on this day by bringing here members of the highest rank of your government. Minister Ciro Nogueira, Minister General Luiz Eduardo Ramos, Minister Paulo Guedes, Minister Marcos Montes, Minister Joaquim Leite, Minister Fábio Faria, Minister Marcos Pontes, former Minister Tarcísio, who honor us deeply by being present here, and all the members of your delegation. I believe with the same reciprocity, we can say that the Brazilian agribusiness and the agribusiness of many other countries around the world is here represented. We have here representatives from all productive chains of the agribusiness, not only from Brazil, but from other countries as well. Not only the people who executed GAF, ABCZ, ABPA, ABRAFRUTAS, Milho, Maizall, National Corn Growers Association, Maizall from Argentina, the Sucroenergéticas Forum, and others. Not only the people who prepared and executed this event, and representatives from many other chains who are present here. People who produce cotton, soy, orange, coffee, beans, and more than 180 associations of international producers. I'd like to tell you, Mr. President, that the transformation that you and your government have provided of the infrastructure that supports the agribusiness, eliminating bottlenecks that were previously thought as unsurmountable. Trucks that would be stuck in the mud. Yeah, that's true, and that I can see here the Admiral Flávio Rocha. It's an honor to have you here. Trucks that would be stuck in the mud, losing their crops being stored outdoors, left to rot, income opportunities and job opportunities being lost left and right. During your government, that through a very responsible conduction, when looking at the macroeconomic scale, that we are able, you, together with Minister Paulo Guedes, we are able to overcome all the expectations regarding the Brazilian economy. So congratulations, since you have reached the fiscal balance, the fiscal equilibrium in our country. It was during your government, President, that we implemented the greatest decarbonization program in the transportation sector. We also had a very successful plantation through RenovaBio, and that's making Brazil now, in a period of 10 years, to eliminate the emissions of 700 million tons of CO2 equivalent tons. That corresponds to the total emission of France. So during your government, Mr. President, that we overcame the challenges of the greatest pandemic that humanity has faced since the Spanish flu, since the beginning of the last century. And Brazil also overcame the social and economic challenges, supporting the vulnerable classes. It was during your government that the agribusiness, thanks your due diligence and your braveness of ensuring the supply of fertilizers to Brazil. While many countries are suffering with this supply, and we see concerns that are recurring regarding the supply of wheat and rice due to the lack of fertilizers. Brazil has already ensured its supply of fertilizers for planting the next crop by means of the diligence that you had and your ministers had. Firstly, Minister Teresa Cristina and later Minister Marcos Montes, I beg your pardon. During your government, we saw many transformations. Your first government. Transformations that should be carried on. Transformations that we hope that keep on giving the due appreciation of what is ours. And the agribusiness that is present here thanks your support so that it can keep on developing itself. If we could mention one main characteristic that distinguishes the agribusiness that is here present, we have more than 2,000 attendees here today. This characteristic would be the integration of productive chains, where value is added to the raw and primary raw material. The transformation of corn into ethanol and DDGS, the transformation of sugarcane into sugar, ethanol, molasses, and biomatter, everything is integrated with the meat production chain that is promoting a revolution with the intensification of livestock, allowing that more land is taken by livestock raising without threatening any biome with sustainability. Your defense of the territorial assets, the integrity and responsibility that Brazil has, only makes the industry that is here represented proud. So it's very significant to have you here with us today, and this entire industry can only thank you and pay honor to the work that has been done by you. And we hope that you can keep on carrying this work for the benefit of this country. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
We'll hear now Ministry of Environment, Joaquim Álvaro Pereira Leite. Plínio, congratulations. Sergio, congratulations on the event. It's an honor to be here. Mr. President, it's an honor to be part of your government. This government, which seeks profitable climatic solutions, we need to find solutions for the environmental challenges. And this is what this government has done. Some solutions like payment for environmental services by means of Floresta Mais. You can see how to benefit and compensate those who maintain native vegetation and forests, especially rural producers. A program which also created Recicla Mais, which has in agriculture a main example, which is Campo Limpo, which sends back 94% of packaging in an integrated way. All the producers in a continental country such as Brazil are able to return 94% of the packaging to recycling, and this is an example for the world. No other country has this level of recycling of defensive products like Brazil. A program that has zero in taxes for the erection of biogas and biomethane power plants. We're going to invest 60 billion reais to generate biomethane and biogas. This is energy and fuel, and this fuel which can replace diesel in agricultural business in a decentralized way at lower costs. The federal government is always seeking solutions to benefit those who are working, those who are doing a good job, and the sugar and alcohol sector is a good example. In addition to poultry and pork and dairy producers who will benefit from this program, which we created a methane credits, which brings additional revenue to projects that didn't have this in the global carbon market. You're going to have revenue which you can use to implement these projects. In addition, I would like to emphasize that in the ethanol sector, we are been moving to the future of energy, the fuel of the future, which is the green hydrogen. Ethanol is an excellent source of green hydrogen, which you can use to supply your electric vehicles with a hydrogen cell, which is originated from ethanol. And then in a decentralized way, all over Brazil, where you have a gas station, you're able to charge your electric vehicles using this ethanol cell and fueling it with ethanol and having a passage battery that will have the transition, an intelligent transition, and transition that benefits the consumers, not that makes fossil fuels more expensive. This is the challenge, finding profitable solutions for the world, and Brazil is part of this. In addition to ethanol, we're going to have green hydrogen from solar energy, which producers have solar parks, eolic parks as well, and also offshore eolic farms as well, which is can produce up to 4 times the energy produced today. So Brazil will be an exporter of green hydrogen and green ammonium, which can also be originated from the solar and eolic powers, and can also be an opportunity for producers to decarbonize their production with green ammonium. The federal government is looking for solutions that are not only finding the guilt, but really finding profitable solutions for all. Mr. President, it's an honor to be part of your government. We have a lot to do ahead. We have solutions that we're designing together with the Ministries of Economy and Agriculture, and it's an honor for me to be part of this event, and as Ministry of the Environment to be here together with Mr. Marcos Montes' ministry as well, and also a challenge with Saxida, Paulo Guedes, Ciro, all the ministers here working together to bring the solutions for everyone, to have a better Brazil for everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all. Now I'll ask to the floor Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Supply, Mr. Marcos Montes. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Such an important event. I would like to congratulate our Mr. President Bolsonaro, congratulate the team of ministers here as well, Minister Ciro, Minister Cristiani, all the congressmen here as well, all the representatives of the government that are here, federal and state congressmen, all the associations. I would like to, Minister of Uruguay, Fernando, good to have you here. We're going to have a meeting soon, a great partner and a great brother country of ours, all the delegations that are here in attendance, and also Mr. Plinio and Sergio for organizing this event, for the work that have been doing for a long time for our sector. I think the subject that was put into discussion here today, Mr. Plinio and Sergio, is great. It's spectacular. Food security and food safety, sustainability, climate change, all of this makes us think, makes us reflect on these subjects. And I'm not going to be going to the technical details here. Minister Ciro, Minister Fabio, my colleagues here, for many years in the parliament. I need to do a reflection here and think about my time as a congressman at FPA, the Commission of Agriculture, and look at Brazil at that time and look at Brazil today. And looking at Brazil today, it starts when President Jair Bolsonaro won the elections. He called all the congressmen to really create our ministry and indicate our ministry and our minister and the happiness for the Brazilian parliament. For the country, we selected Minister Teresa Cristina, and she had all the freedom to create her team. And I already said this, I'd like to say it again in front of this audience. Not only she was able to create her team, you gave the opportunity from the Ministry of Culture, Infrastructure, and Environments to work together and work in a way that looks for the agricultural business with the importance that it has. Ministry of Environment, all of you represented here have been doing a great job, and this is true because losing last COP26 in Glasgow, Brazil was there and Brazil left there. Everyone was fearing that Brazil we came here with our heads held up with the work that we've done and with the work that we're still doing. So the Ministry of Environment now is a ministry that builds public policies to value rural producers, to give the rural producers what they deserve for the work and the dedication and for how they donate themselves inside their own properties and their own land. This is a work that you gather all these forces together under the coordination of Mr. President Jair Bolsonaro. We've launched our plan, Safra, and here is our Minister of Economy, like Pliny already mentioned. I would like to emphasize the ministry, the work that the minister has done. At the first moment, we don't understand Paulo Guedes, but the results are here to everyone to see. Plano Safra, which you helped to create together with the Minister of Environment and all our technicians who are working there. President of the Central Bank, it's the greatest plan in the history of Brazil, especially because we focus the record resources, 241 billion reais, directed to the family agriculture and medium-sized agriculture and mainly sustainability projects. This is a great step that we have taken forward, showing the clarity that the government treats the public properties and our producers and it wants to include our producers in the market. This is true because there's also some regulation work that has been done. It's going to be voted by the Senate that is going to have a concept change in our country following the great institution program that Brazil has already seen. I've seen this, Sergio have seen this in the National Congress, and we've seen that moment, the concern that we had with land invasion and insecurity that we had in our farms. And I can say this because I worked there for many years, and I was really happy to join them in this pathway, in the coherent pathway that we have been moving forward, bringing these people into the job market and giving dignity to the families. I think this is the essential for our country. And just to wrap up here, the subject of sustainability, so many programs have been created with the Ministry of Environment and the other ministries as well, Ministry of Citizenship, Ministry of Women. We're working on several sustainability programs. We can mention program ABC, recovery of degraded fields, and especially this week, last week, we had a decree that Mr. President authorized this decree by the Ministry of Energy with the coordination of the Ministry of Economy about RenovaBio, one of the greatest sustainability programs in the world. It's been said here that the adaptation of this decree, at the moment that we're living, it's very important for the moment. You can understand that this decree was at that moment, at the right time, at the right moment. But the government will keep this program, and this is one of the great hopes for Brazil. I'm sure that this commitment is a commitment of President Jair Bolsonaro. I already talked to the minister, and they're doing a great job. And this is an important forum. That's my satisfaction to be together with this team of President Jair Bolsonaro, which is bringing Brazil to become one of the great powers in the world. And we'll have the internal safety that we need. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, everyone. And I'm sure of the success of this event. And with Pliny and Sergio, that we're going to show everyone and show everyone in the world that we are dealing with this subject with seriousness that it deserves and the responsibility it deserves. And that's why we're proud of our producers by the technology implemented and the capacity of our producers. Brazil is working and will continue in the future, and we need to follow this path. Thanks, everyone.
Now we invite to the stage the Minister, Chief of Staff, Mr. Ciro Nogueira, Mr. Presidente Bolsonaro, Sergio Bortoluzzo, who leads this event, Plínio, and other colleagues, and the best Minister of the Economy of a country in the world, Mr. Paulo Guedes, and others. President, Brazil will become Saudi Arabia when it comes to food. This statement, I didn't make it myself. This is a statement made by the head of Banco BRICS, a Brazilian called Marcos Troia. I don't doubt that it can help. I believe that it can help. I truly believe that it can help. I truly believe that it can happen, and I believe that the conditions, the initiatives, the businessmen, investors, we do have them. When we also have a government that has been able to make the necessary investments. Sometimes I imagine to myself that if the resources we use to take care of people, treat people, to give vaccines, to protect the employment of people, with more than 750 billion of reais. If we hadn't had this need and we had delivered these resources to the most competent minister that we ever had in the infrastructure, Minister Tarcísio. But this time will arrive. I believe that our captain has taken the boat through storms, but now we have reached safe harbor and we will have a calmer journey in the future, Mr. Paulo Guedes. I believe that this country will not go back in time. We will keep on moving forward with the new plans, investments, and the discussion on how to make the agribusiness in the production of our country more efficient. So I'd like to congratulate you for the wonderful forum. I believe, and I'm sure that wonderful ideas and discussions will come up here that will help the government to make the right and necessary decisions through these very competent staff and with the command of our President, Mr. Jair Bolsonaro. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's welcome the distinguished President of the Brazilian Republic, Mr. Jair Bolsonaro. Good morning, everyone. Dear Mr. Sergio Bortoluzzo, I thank you for the invitation. Well, I am the coach of the team. I believe that the ones who play the game are the ministers. I believe that it was wanted from me to speak on behalf of those who came before me, but I said no. The message, the straight message, the accurate message shall come from you. I'm only supposed to make some comments. And here we have the agribusiness that gives us the food security, not only to us, but to more than 1 billion people all around the world. But for that, for the food to come from the countryside to reach the ports, we need infrastructure. And then, from day one, I had my friend, Mr. Tarcísio, graduated by IME, who used to be a congressman. And he volunteered himself to join the ministry. His work is known by everyone. For instance, a stretch of the Federal Road BR-163 that every year, considering the rainy season, used to cause a truck to take 1 week to cross a distance of 50 kilometers. He did a great work in a record time using the contribution from the engineering corps of the Brazilian army. He also has worked with the North-South road. The federal government has a huge capacity of creating obstacles, and you should know by now that where these obstacles usually had taken us in the past, but this government has collaborated with the licensing back in time with Ricardo Salles, and now we hope that in this current year to complete this stretch of 4,100 kilometers. There is a connection of the entire North-South railway as well, and I also intend to spend 2 days so that we can complete this stretch of the North-South railway, reaching many states and finally completing its journey at the port of Santos. And also other railways, considering also the integration of the network of railways in the state of São Paulo. This work was entirely conducted by Tarcísio, that was discovered by us. I would like to make it clear. It wasn't any political party who offered Tarcísio to us. That was something that was a technical choice made by people, as we did with all the ministries. When I talk about agribusiness, Minister Ciro mentioned by now, I went to a 5G farm. I went there to meet this technology, and the productivity, the increase in productivity can reach around 20%. And when I talk about this work regarding 5G, that was very well negotiated by Minister Fábio Faria.
If we talk about fertilizers, we have everything here in Brazil, but we have a lot of people standing along the way. In terms of environmental issues, some people prefer to starve to death than to cut a tree. And that's their own option, but it can't be something for the entire country. But we had to look for fertilizers, or better, ensure the supply of fertilizers from other countries. And this was decided December last year, but in March, we already had here our fertilizer program led by Admiral Rocha, who is looking for alternatives, even for the cultivation of algae in the sea. This is really advanced, and we've always started to see the creativity of Brazilians. Something that they used to replace part of the fertilizers. I went to Russia, discussed this with Mr. Putin, with a lot of criticism by the Brazilian press and the criticism of other countries as well. But I'm the president of Brazil. I want peace. I don't want war anywhere in the world, and I do what I can for that. But I can't bring this problem that is a foreign problem to our people without giving them a solution. So we would have two problems. So we did our part. President Putin received me. We had a meeting for 3 hours, and I was there. Someone from the Itamaraty staff, the other on his side, the president, and two people, and we had 3 hours of meeting. It was great, with mutual interests, and everything that we discussed is being done. Almost 30 ships have already docked after this conversation to ensure inputs for our agricultural business. Can you imagine Brazil reducing its productivity due to the lack of fertilizers for internal issues, inflation, or even lack of supply? And I would like to make it clear that 3 months ago, I had the visit from the president of OMC. She came to talk about hunger all over the world. I talked to her for 1 hour, And then a few days later, she declared that without Brazil, the world would starve. And then the importance of our country to the world, the respect that we have all over the world, the way they treat us, and also the consideration that we achieved and that we have for everyone here in Brazil. It's common when we have meetings in a government to have more than 20 or 30 ambassadors all over the world present. So this, of course, is a large part of our work, which, even under pressure, I have to take decisions. I may make mistakes, but I'll never omit myself. I can only do this if I have qualified people on my side who are loyal to me and loyal to Brazil, and not loyal to political parties. We know it, which we have lived in our recent past here in our country. And we talk about the well-being of the people. People have their needs, and we need to meet them. No government has faced what we have faced. 2 years of a pandemic, the wrong policy of stay at home, and someone wants to make me guilty about it, like large newspapers talk today about education. Yes, I said we need to fight the virus, but we cannot have the collapse of economy and leave the kids in school. Or isn't it that what I said? Is it wrong or is it right? It was right. I gave the example. When they closed the universities, I said my universities, 3 will not close. Agulhas Negras, Força Aérea, and if someone dies, make me guilty. No one was even hospitalized. So we need to be bold to face the adversities and the challenges. We can't be politically correct all the time. We can't think that we are the owners of truth. I have my counselors. Some of them I hear more, some less. But the final decision is mine. I am a volunteer. I was a volunteer to be a president of the Republic. I'm not here to understand that it's a mission that is given me from God due to the conditions of the elections. But it's a small portrait of our Brazil, a small portrait of our power and our importance. And exactly for being important and for being those who can say if the world's going to starve or not, there's people abroad who are interested in our country. If you don't think like this, from my understanding, you owe us a lot. We must concern, and we must take care of our country with our assets. Something that no one has. You're not hearing in the Brazilian press, but there's a huge fires in France. The forests are burning. Can you imagine if it was a few hectares in Pantanal, in Mato Grosso do Sul, and how the Brazilian media would deal with this subject? We are really sorry for the thousands of deaths in France, but this thing happens. But cannot take advantage of these moments to find other countries guilty and blame them. And we have this a traditional policy, as I mentioned to Carlos França. Every time they say I'm going to change him from someone else, and there's no reason for me to change any minister at the moment. And if I had any reasons to do this, it would be on the day I would publish the legal notice. I wouldn't say it over the press. And this is a problem for everyone. So Brazil is doing really well. They said here, Mr. Paulo Guedes is a great minister, but many people has already asked me to sack him at the moment of crisis, as if at such moment it was the moment to change the parachute. No, it's a moment to unite. It's a moment to believe in his capacity, his ability. There was no reason for such changes. He's working for us. He worked for us during the pandemic. We spent 700 billion reais in 2020. There was no collapse, no problems with the Brazilian economy. Of course, it was an emergency. It was not in our budget. Our budget is much lower. So how many times did I go there to Minister Paulo Guedes' house to talk to him alone? My Poço Ipiranga. What the fuck is that? How we can solve that? Because it's on my back. And he had a solution. And it's hard to say, keep calm. It's hard. But I knew what he was saying, so I knew I could believe him. And the answer is here for everyone to see. The fuels are prices going down at a moment of crisis. Petrobras announced last week they're going to reduce 20 cents per liter of fuel. So we're trying to do the things the best way possible. Great work by the Parliament to increase the budget for SMS and communication and transports. All the sugar sector here, we approved direct sales of ethanol. So we removed the tourist ethanol, which traveled 200, 400 kilometers until it reached a carrier or until a distributor, and then would go to the gas station, which is 3 kilometers from the power plant. So everybody wins with that. It's not easy to work with the sectors that are stabilized here in Brazil, but our goal was the common goal. This Brazil was not complicated. On the day I joined the government, it's been complicated over many years. In 2015, Petrobras had a debt of $180 billion. With a lot of bad things they did inside that company, equivalent to 900 billion reais. Resources that are sufficient to do the transposition of the San Francisco River 60 times. BNDES, which was left abandoned. People who joined the BNDES, they were indicated by someone. It could not work. You can see Kasha last year from with Dani. Now I talked to her. How's it going? The negotiation of the land owned by Kasha to Flamengo, who wants to build its stadium. So we dealt with the subject. I called to the Brazilian army.
So there is an army battalion nearby, and if that is the case, we can serve Flamengo. The feasibility study is quite advanced without intermediates. If there is a mayor saying something, then he would be lying. If there is anyone standing in the way, I mean, that's not necessary. The SPU is at the disposal of mayors and governors. We will have from the federal government, we will have how to provide your support. And I have to thank God for the mission and for my life, and having such a wonderful people who think and work for the future of our nation. Thank you very much.